Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey, some familiar faces. Yes, keep on lining up.
Good to see you. Good to see you on the call.
Yeah, we've got some early morning Canadians. Got the South Africans. We've got Malaysians, more South Africans, Americans, Zimbabwean. Let's see who else is here. The Germans are here. Hello,
Yeah,
Ray.
a few
Ray, I'm not sure.
Canadians on. Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, definitely. I see Ray's got a hand up. I don't know if Ray is just waving. Um, I know we do use the emoticon. Oh, there we go. Thanks for, oh, he's waving again.
It's all good.
Not sure. Lovely. Good. Vicky, okay. Yeah, Vicky's being funny now as well. Well, welcome to it, ladies and gents. The very last, well, I nearly said 4H. It's the very last HODLFIRE call for the year. This is the 27th of December, 2024. And we've been watching the market have a little bit of a retrace over the last week or so, and that's okay because a lot of coins are starting to turn around. And yeah, so we're basically going to make use of the Q&A section down below in the of Zoom at least for any questions that you guys might have. But Wendy, it's over for you for now. We'll have a look at those questions and then we'll look at some coins a bit later.
Yeah, so it's good to see everybody on the call. This is just really a call to get you all together to see if you have any questions to make sure everybody is understanding the HODL fire really, really well and on using it on for different reasons. Some people are using it on higher time frames. Some people are scalp trading with it. Some people are using it somewhere in the middle. So we want to make sure that everybody is profiting, everybody's using the neon candles, the alerts. If you have any questions with it, it is a very popular indicator right now, and a lot of people are finding abundance with it. So we just decided to have these calls to show you some different strategies, to show you the basic strategy as we go along. People are finding different ways to use it. So welcome to the call, and we will take questions if anybody has any. And make sure John's going to go over a few of the coins that just happen to be popping right now. So it's just been a slow kind of day and yesterday, but it's just probably within the last hour, I started seeing some some green color. So it's really good. So we can do that. But welcome to the call.
There
Cool.
are no questions at the moment, other
No
than are we
questions.
going
Okay.
to continue to record this? And yes, we are going to record it moving
Hmm.
forward. So it will be recorded and edited and popped in the channel. So thank you for, I see a lot of North Americans up at a ungodly hour. So thank you. But yes, you will be able to watch the recording moving forward.
Yeah.
Although it is good to jump on live because you can ask questions live and it's always better to jump on live. So um best of both worlds. But yeah, so there are no questions. So John, if you have some coins, we could probably do that first. And then there might be questions after that if you want to do that.
Sure, absolutely. So like we're like in the scalping world that is huddle knots, we don't marry coins necessarily.
Mm.
Somebody was telling me the other day that they have 6 or 7 coins that they look at every single day. And I
Hmm.
was like, well, you get to know some of the coins, sure. But if you have a paid version of TradingView, you're able to add up to 1,000 coins per watch list, and you can have multiple watch lists. Now, the reason why we have these watches is so we can actually see which coins are really popping, either from a scalping perspective and or from a HODL fire perspective. So I trade mostly on Binance. Some people trade on Mexi, some people trade on other exchanges, and that's fine. The reason why I trade on Binance is because I generally find that the liquidity is a lot better and the reliability. And so from a HODL fire perspective, it's nice to have a smoother trend and not too much volatility. From scalping perspective, coins and Mexi and KuCoin and everything else are great. If you know what you're doing, of course, as one last plug for the year, but our next course starts on January 17th. If you'd like to find out much more about front and back of the mountain, how to use the hodlnator, timeframes, and everything else, of course, there's your opportunity. But for now, let's have a quick look at what the market is doing. Let's have a look at Bitcoin on the day. At the moment, we know that Bitcoin has been coming down a fair bit. Let's actually to switch over to normal candles, give you guys better perspective. So at the moment, all right, so this is Bitcoin on the day. we're above. We know that we're above the 1-day 200, and we've had a pivot bottom and a buy tag. All right. So at the moment, you can see that Bitcoin is kind of going sideways, and we'd like to obviously start to see this come up and break past that high of 108. If we start to look down at the 1 hour, because a lot of us are either using 1 hour or 2 hour HODLFIRE, it's nice to see where Bitcoin really is. And why do we look at Bitcoin? Is because generally most coins follow the same pattern, rhythm of Bitcoin itself. At the moment, struggling to get past this 200 MA. All right, so we want to make sure, we mentioned before, the candles are above that 200 MA. Just for us to be trading. However, not all the coins are looking the same as Bitcoin. There are a few that are looking a little dissimilar. So let's have a look at a few. I know a lot of people have asked around Theta or Jasmy or Gala. So you can see a lot of coins are kind of looking quite similar to Bitcoin, and we're starting to see a few of these coins start to be on top of, or I would say gain support above that 200 MA, but you can see they're breaking up above. All right, so not too bad. Obviously, we'd like to see some sort of consolidation, and then we'll start to see Theta moving up again. And this is just on the 1 hour. So again, I prefer the 1 hour purely just because between the pivot bottoms and the pivot tops can be anything between 12 hours, 13 hours, 16 hours a day and a few hours kind of thing. And it's nice to be able to cycle through. For those of you who like a slightly longer trade, you could look at the 2 hour, say as example between that, and that's looking at nearly 2 days. All right, just in terms of it. So that's where they play out slightly longer. So for those of you who don't have time to check the charts every day, you look at a 2 hour HODLFIRE, and then conversely, a 4 hour HODLFIRE might be better suited to other people, just giving in terms of time reference. So this ends up being 4 or 5 days between the pivot bottom and the pivot top. So just choose which time frame you guys want to use the HODLFIRE on, because obviously the pivot bottom and pivot top tags will come in slightly longer. All right, let's have a quick look at Jasmy. All right, so a number of coins like Theta, I think was as well, still trying to get back on top of that 200 MA, right? It's generally a good place to start because what we often find is that when you get these pivot bottoms below this 200 MA, they can often be rejected and not just continue straight up again. So just bear that in mind. So I'd like to see, for me to add some more to my Jasmy bag, I'd like to see these candles be on top of that 200 MA. All right, so just keep that in mind. Now, in terms of some of the coins we've been looking at, let's have a look at, so this is the top of my watch list at the moment. And I've got PHA marked out here. Now, why? Because PHA has been going for the last couple of days. All right, so these are 4 hour candles. And it's been doing quite well. If we have a look at the general trend, the bigger picture trend on the day, this is actually looking pretty good. Now, you might say to me, John, well, I've missed the opportunity really because it's been going for a couple of candles. Here you can see a couple of neon candles after that pivot bottom. And I'm like, that's okay. You could still potentially get in, but I'd rather go down to the lower time frames and be like, okay, well, I know that the day is looking pretty strong. I'm a bit late for the 4 hour because there's no pivot top yet. You need to wait for a pivot bottom. I definitely think PHA is one to keep an eye on for the next couple of days, maybe on the lower time frames. And again, I'm going to go down to the 1 hour. The 1 hour is still looking pretty good. But in terms of it playing out, it's going to be a quicker turnaround time. So I'd wait for the pivot top and it might come in the next hour or 2, 3 candles. Wait for the pivot bottom and then potentially go in, because we've seen there that the 1 day is looking pretty strong. All right, one of the other coins I'm also looking at, oh, there's 2 others actually. Let's go have a look at Forth. All right, Forth, like a number of others, can do really well. Now, pivot bottom is in here. It is going on the 1 hour. If that's too quick a turnaround for you guys, you can look at it on the 2 hour. Again, the pivot bottom is in. Maybe wait for these pivot tops to come in on Forth at least. Have a look at the 4 hour here, and you can see the candles all beautifully above that 200 moving average. But again, you might have missed this, but something to keep an eye on. Let's just have a look here at the day, and you can see that that at least fourth is above that 1 day 200 moving average. I would wait, and I'm probably going to set an alert somewhere around, you see that 6.561, that is the high. All right, I'm going to keep an eye on here, or even set a neon green candle alert on the day, which then means that I know that at least the 1 hour, the 2 hour, the 4 hour are also going quite nicely. But maybe, like I said, keep an eye on fourth, wait for that pivot top to come in, then set a pivot bottom alert, and then look at going. Now, these are all kind of already running. So let's have a look at something else I'm also keeping my eye on. So this is res. All right, so res is broken. This is a 1 hour time frame. So res, in terms of the candles are above that 200 at the moment. Yes, we do have a pivot top, and we're going to probably see a pivot bottom come in somewhere, who knows, in this candle or the next 1 hour candle or so forth. So I'm keeping an eye on there. I am aware that at the moment we're under that 200. So you guys need to see wherever that pivot bottom comes in for both the 1 hour, the 200, or sorry, 1 hour or the 2 hour, what is that percentage maybe up there before it hits that 200? It isn't too bad. But if I look here on the day, all right, we've got some really nice potential as well for this still to come. So I'm keeping my eye on res, but especially from a 1 hour perspective. All right, I'm setting my pivot bottom alert. And again, let me just do a quick reminder because somebody actually asked me, how do I set an alert? So let's go over to your neon green HODLFIRE. Otherwise known, there's another name as well, but it is the HODLFIRE. You click on those three little dots. All right, you click there, add the alert. Now I want to know, don't worry about these two fields. You don't change these at all. You want to make sure that you are looking for the pivot bottom alert. Okay, I want to know when that pivot bottom alert is coming in. Now, I highly recommend all of you, when you do this, in terms of the trigger, the difference between these two is that bear in mind that the pivot bottom alert, like the buy tag alert or the sell tag alert or the pivot top alert, is it can trigger, it can flash, all right? But then it can flash off, and flash on, and flash off. And if you only use the only once, is that as soon as that pops on, the pivot bottom pops on, it'll trigger your alert, and you get the alert on your phone or you get the alert on your computer, and you go and you're like, oh, but I don't see one. It's probably because it flashed off. So what we generally do as well is at once per bar close. And by bar, they mean candle. So if, for instance, the pivot bottom was flashing here at the moment, it's not going to trigger, it's not going to give me the alert until that 43 minutes and 50 seconds countdown has finished and the candle has closed and there is a new candle. Okay, so we use once per bar close. So once that candle has closed, that hour is up. In this case, it's a 1 hour time frame, or that 2 hour candle, or the 4 hour candle. Once that's closed and that pivot bottom tag is confirmed and it's not going anywhere, then my alert will trigger. So do that one. Once per bar means that if you're going to you'll get it for every single candle. And once per minute, it will literally trigger every single minute. So no, unless you're really one of those people who ignore your alerts and you want this going off all the time, you can hit once per minute. Do this one once per bar close. Now, I generally don't add in alert name because what will happen is this will tell me it is giving me a pivot bottom signal for res. This is the name of the coin. But what I do add is I do add the time frame because even though this does say 1 hour here, it doesn't always give you pivot bottom 1 hour. So I often do the, because it might be on a 4 hour, might be on a 2 hour, I do add in that as well. Okay, so 1 hour there, and please make sure most of us use the TradingView app. So I get notified on my phone if I'm in the kitchen or outside and I'm wanting to know and I'm not at my computer, notify that. That'll means that's going to pop up on your screen here on the bottom left-hand side. And then playing a sound is important because again, you might be watching something else or not paying attention. Having that sound play is important. Obviously, making sure that the volume is up on your computer as well. So I'm keeping an eye on res at the moment. Let me have a quick look and see, are there any questions? Let's have a look. All right, good question. Thanks, Ray. I see there's a question there, Wendy. I don't know if you want to answer that one.
Okay, so the question is, where is the best place to ask questions about the HODLNOT course? Right here. You can ask if you have any questions. The HODLNOT course is the next live course is January. Things are going to be a little bit different in the new year. We've got some good, nice changes coming for the HODLNOT course. But the next course is starting in a couple weeks, I guess. When is the date, Vicki? I think it's around the 17th.
It is the 17th, and I
Okay.
have put the link in the chat for everyone to see. So yeah, it's the 17th, which will be it's a Friday, so that's just our welcome call, and then it will be about 2.5 weeks of full on after that. So you'll learn, and for those of you don't think you want to scalp, it's not just for scalping, it's a foundational course. So you'll learn how to use our indicators on all time frames. And absolutely, we those of you that have done the course do have an advantage using the HODLFIRE, even to bring it back to this call, because we do talk about things when you've done the course that we don't talk about on this call, because not everyone has done the course on this call. So you will have an advantage, and you will be able to use the HODLFIRE slightly better if you've done the course. So it is on the 17th of January if you'd like to start. And that's only like 3 weeks away. When did the year go?
Yes. Yeah.
Crazy.
Absolutely.
Okay, there is another question. So I'm happy to answer that one as well. And the gentleman said that the bottom pivot often comes in after two other bars are finished. So it comes in later. That does happen. It does happen often. That is the way that it is coded. I haven't seen much pivot alerts on the bar itself. It comes in later. Most of the time, unless you get a huge, massive wick action going on a candle that goes extremely high and it registers, a lot of the coding that goes on in the background on the HODLFIRE will come in on the cell tag. So the cell tag itself is actually the confirmation that is closing on the top pivot. So you do need to know that. So if you are on a 4-hour, it can come in 8 hours later. That is correct. But you should be noticing that you're in profit. You should be managing your risk with either moving your stop loss up, or when the sell tag comes in, you will still make a very good profit. It's just that it has to go back and paint top pivot on the highest point where it knows for a fact that it's going to ricochet and pivot the opposite direction. So that is a very good question. And some people don't understand that very well. But that is the sell tag is actually the confirmation that the top pivot is in it, and it has to go back and paint it on the highest point. So if that sell tag is lower than the wick action that happened, it'll paint it back on the wick. So just know that the sell is the real deal. It's like, okay, we are coming down now. Okay. If the 1 hour's alert is going, when do you enter watching on 1 minute or which time frame? Oh, that's a good question. What do you do, John?
All right, good question. Thank you, anonymous
Yeah.
attendee. So I don't go look for an entry on the 1 minute if my alert has gone off for the 1 hour. So I trade the 1 hour and the 1 day quite often. I do wait for, I don't know if I'm breaking up, so I'm just checking.
A little bit. It's
Yeah,
internet.
so when my 1 hour alert goes, cool, thanks. Yeah, my internet is a bit slow. So when the 1 hour alert goes off, which is generally uh, let me just turn my camera off. Sorry, guys, my internet is a bit
It's
shocking.
okay.
When
Yeah.
my 1 hour alert goes off, I go in. I don't go look on the lower time frames before better entry. I basically just enter, I buy in, and I put my stop loss in place, and then I set my pivot top alert, and I keep watching it, or at least before I go to sleep, I move my stop loss up. So yeah, but to answer your question, anonymous attendee, I don't go look for a better entry on the 1 minute, because that ends up being overthinking, and I just go and buy in.
That's a very good answer. So everybody's using it a little bit differently. We do have a lot of scalpers that once you've taken the course, you really are practicing and working on your scalp trades. But a lot of people do like to have some of these steadier coins that have a little bit less percentage gains, and they want to be using it on 15 minutes. And they usually cash out the same day, if not the next day, on a lot of those type of coins. I see that Ray has put in there a Gala in KAS. Gala is what I consider a steady Eddie. It's a very good, consistent use of the HODLFIRE on Gala. Gala, FET, FTT, those are both of those are good gainers. I'm not sure about KAS. I haven't looked at that one, but Gala is. And John, you've got that on your screen.
Yeah, so I hold Gala long term. So
Mm,
Ray, in terms of Gala, are you looking 1 hour? Just to give, just so and thank you because I did ask in the chat. Thanks, Ray. All right, so looking at the 4 hour. So in terms of farming it. If that's your plan, is to farm, i.e., between the pivot top and pivot bottom. So you just do pivot bottom to pivot bottom to pivot top the whole time. That's farming, which is amazing, which is great. And that's what I do on the 1 hour. I basically just trade them up and down. However, in terms of what are you seeing here? All right. So Ray, yeah, that's it. But what are you seeing in terms of first thing you guys always need to do is the coin worth your while? So for instance, you probably would have bought in there, probably would have sold. Are you happy with 14% in 4 days? Yeah, not bad at all. One
mhm,
of the other things to remember, everybody, is that there's a good chance when it comes up to this 200 moving average, is it's going to struggle to get past. But for instance, if there was a pivot bottom that came in now, just randomly, are you going to be happy with about 19-20%? Sure. So what I am ideally looking for if I was to farm a Gala, is obviously wait for a pivot bottom and then ride it to the pivot top. And there is a nice percentage potential. We've just seen there's
mhm.
about 20% in it for Gala. I'm going to have a look and just see what Gala is doing on the day. And you can see that Gala is actually starting to shape up a little. Now, what do I mean by that? We've got a pivot bottom here. We've got a followed by a buy tag. And you can see that these candles have managed to stay above this area roughly. So they're kind of coming together, they're consolidating, and we should start to see Gala moving up in the next couple of days. I'd like to see it break past this area here because you see these wicks are kind of lining up. But Gala's looking pretty good. But we've seen there on the 4 hour what does need to happen first, and this will probably take a couple of days, is for these candles to get back on top of that 4 hour 200. A lot of coins, many coins are sitting in this position at the moment. You can look similar with Theta when it loads it up. Also sitting underneath there. We're also looking for, same with AXS. Let's have a look at some of these other T fuels actually are really another common one as well, because a lot of people are looking at Theta. So ideally, we'd like to see it break or at least be on top of that 4 hour 200, right? But that doesn't mean you can't farm it. There's a nice pivot bottom at the moment. No buy tag yet to confirm. But if a buy tag came in and you got in, there was a pivot top all the way to roughly about that 200, there's some nice potential. All right, so keep that in mind, ladies and gents. Just bear in mind that it will struggle to get past that 200 MA. The other one as well that you asked for was CAS, USDT.
Caspa,
I
yeah.
presume, yeah, Casper has been around and spoken about
Wow.
quite a lot. So you can see in terms of where it's at, like I said, many coins are struggling on the 4 hour. I
Mhm.
don't think Kaz is yet there on the, yeah, didn't think so. It's almost on top of that 1 hour 200 moving average. And we'd like to see that happen, but,
Yes.
and that will happen before really this starts going. But we have a pivot bottom here for Kaz, no buy tag yet. But again, take your ruler tool and measure. Is it worth your while to farm a coin on
Mm.
a 4 hour like
What do
Okay.
you have for
If it was,
FTT? Oh, sorry, John. Go ahead.
I'll yeah, I'll have a look at FTT now. Um, just bear in mind if this was, I mean, that's 24. If it was only 2.4%,
Yeah.
okay. If it was only 2.4%, I'd say don't trade it because it's too risky. There's a good chance it'll hit that 200 moving average and struggle to get past. So, but anything like 10% and above, that gives me some really nice potential returns on the way back. Yes, let's have a look at FTT. Tammy, hi, great to have you back. For the HODLFIRE, yes, I do use regular candles. It just gives me a much better idea as to price action. I don't read into candle patterns, everybody. I'm not going to tell you about three stars or three sisters and a gravestone. I don't know, Vicky, you know all the words. I don't read into all of those. But I do look at the normal candles in terms of where the real price action is. Thanks for the question. Let's have a look at FTT. So FTT is probably looking a little, okay, there we go, looking a little bit better. This is the 4 hour. So again, if I'm going to trade FTT, I do like the 1 hour. And is it giving me some decent returns? You can see I actually had an alert, but I've been sick the last couple of days and I missed it. It did break past, so let me just delete this side alert of mine. Is it again worth your while from a pivot bottom to a pivot top? Ideally, you probably would have gotten out, however. So in a day and a bit, 24%. Hell yeah. All right. So at the moment, we've got a pivot bottom on the 1 hour with a buy tag. Okay, keep that in mind. If you guys rather trade on the 2 hour, buy tag not in yet, but we've got a pivot bottom. So FTT is looking pretty good.
Yeah.
The 4 hour, pivot top, and the sell tag. So at the moment, not quite ready there. But I'd wait. Yeah, the 1 hour, 2 hours actually still looking pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that's really good.
Okay, I'm trying to see if there are any other. Thanks for those questions, Ray and Tammy. Let's see. All right, and Pengu. Hello, Richard. Let me have a look at Pengu for you. It's gonna just do all of these quick. Have a solo knife. Yeah, that's okay. So Tammy, are you out of FTT on the 4 hour? The sell tag is there. It shouldn't make a difference. Okay, one of the questions that's just come in for FTT is it doesn't make a difference whether it's on Binance or Mexi. So this is FTT on Binance. So we can see the price action at 3.72, call it. FTT USDT on Mexi. There it is. It shouldn't. Slightly lower, 3.71, but it's very similar. Most of the exchanges, I mean, back in the day, arbitrage used to be a big thing, and there was a big price discrepancy between the value of a coin on different exchanges and people who trade that difference. But these days, it's very, very similar. So no, I wouldn't say it's massively different. The only difference, ladies and gents, trading between Mexi and Binance is the liquidity. All right, so the liquidity just meaning the number of dollars in the trades. So I generally don't trade on Mexi because of that, but and that's what I use Binance for. But no, Tammy, no, it doesn't make a difference. All right, question was around PRQ. I don't know PRQ. Let's have a look at. I'm presuming on Mexi and Pengu. Pengu, I don't know what token that is. All right, so Richard, are you looking on the 4 hour? Because let's just have a look. Looking quite similar. There's a pivot top, no sell tag at the moment, but that's not too bad. Let's just have a quick look at PRQ. It's going sideways at the moment. We need a pivot bottom, nothing yet as such, but not looking bad at all. I don't know if, Richard, if you're in this trade. But again, 1 hour, 2 hour, 4 hour all have the pivot tops in. Have a quick look at the day. Hey, this isn't looking too bad. This is not a bad coin to be looking at for a couple of 1 hour or 2 hour HODLFIRE trades. The general trend for this coin PRQ is in an upwards trend. So that's pretty nice. So that means that the 1 hours and the 2 hour trades should be quite successful. Sorry, I'm just going through these questions. Wendy, there's a question there for you from Harry.
Okay. If on the 1 hour or the 4 hour you had a bottom pivot and then you get a buy tag and then a sell tag, how do you go about that? Thank you. Okay. Well, the buy tag, you're not supposed to work the buy sell tags, basically. So the sell tag and the buy tag are added to the HODLFIRE so that you can use them to basically just confirm the pivot. Okay, so once a pivot, a sell tag follows the pivot, it will be retracing after that. That's what it's intended to tell you to do. How long that retracement is, we don't know. I mean, it depends on other indicators, and this is where training and education and using other indicators as well will help you know whether you're in the middle of a Bollinger Band, whether you're really going sideways, whether it's just in the up, little down, up, down. That's when you'll get buy sell tags pretty often, buy sell, but you just have to ignore those buy sell. So, and it's a very difficult thing to do. Once you're trained and educated how to move on lower time frames, you'll get a lot more of those buy sell tags, and you learn how a coin works with retracements and time frames. So you'll be able to trade a little bit better with training and education. But basically, to answer your question, like the chart that John has up there now, you have the sell tag at the top white pivot, and then it comes down, and now you have a buy again, and then you have a sell again, and then you have a buy again. And so it's just you're waiting on the bottom pivot to come in. You ignore the buy, you don't buy there, you don't sell there, you don't buy there. Then you get another top pivot that's coming in out in the middle of the blue. Don't worry if you have a top and a top or a bottom and a bottom. You're still waiting on the bottom pivot to buy back in on this coin. So that to answer your question, sometimes what some people do is once they confirm whichever what direction that they're working in, either going up or down, they'll turn those buy sell tags off. There's a little button in the back in the settings. You can turn them off, and then you don't have to see them if it's bothersome for you. But again, when you're trained and educated, sometimes after a retracement, you may have a top pivot, and then after a retracement, you won't get a bottom. You're not going to get them all if you don't really know how to trade really well. But you will get most of them on the HODLFIRE. So that is a really good question. So thanks for that, Harry. Hopefully that answers it for you. I don't
Yeah.
know.
So basically, bottom line, but somebody asked me this last week as well. Bottom line is the only buy tag you need to pay attention to is the one that's after the pivot bottom.
Correct.
That serves as confirmation for that reversal. So it's hit a bottom and now it's coming back up. So that's the only buy tag that you need to pay attention to. And conversely, the only sell tag you need to pay attention to is that one after the pivot top, which serves as confirmation of that reversal of that trend coming down. Everything else in between, ignore it, ladies and gents. Don't need to pay attention to it. Okay. Thank you for that. Yeah, so this is the question that Richard was asking, what sort of the coin. I pulled up PRQ. It's on Binance as well as OKX. This is Pengu, which is also on Binance and OKX as well, and Mexi. They're all about the same age. All right. Sounds like a Tamagotchi. But the looking here at the 1 hour, I presume you're probably looking at the 4 hour. Now, bear in mind that because these coins are new, there isn't enough data or isn't old enough yet to have something like the 200 moving average, right? So that isn't here at the moment. So it's a little bit more difficult to ascertain whether it's going to be a safe trade, because it's new and it doesn't have as much data yet, and new coins tend to be erratic. But this coin was launched on the 17th of December, so that was 10 days ago. So at the moment, pivot top in for Pengu. Again, I'd be a little wary of trading these on the HODLFIRE purely because they are very new. What often happens is they a lot of people sell, and once it reaches a certain level, then it comes down for quite a long time. So just bear in mind that new coins you need to be a little bit more wary. At the moment, you get two pivot tops here in a row, which means that a pivot bottom is due at some point soon. So if you are looking to trade, first thing you need to do is it worth your while? So from a pivot bottom to a pivot top, 22% in 16 hours in a good scenario here, sure. I wouldn't say no to that at all. Cool. Let's see what else there is. I was looking at SLP 4 hour yesterday. Guac, nice to see you. But did not know when to buy since there was no buy tag or pivot bottom. Any other good indicators to look at besides the MACD and the EMA's front of the mountain stochastic RSI? Really good questions. I did cover that briefly in the lodge on one of our calls about 2 months ago. But let's have a quicker look at SLP. You're talking about smooth love potion on the 4 hour. And this was your yesterday, which was obviously a little bit longer. But either way, you would have seen here because this is now 2 days ago. So yesterday, whenever you looked at it, Guac, you would have seen that there would have been, a pivot top. Sell tag came in confirming that trend reversal. What we're ideally looking for now is a pivot bottom. All right. So there are a couple other things that you look at. I personally use something called the RSI. We don't teach it anymore, but MACD is a really good oscillating indicator. We do teach that in our course. Obviously, it works from a scalping perspective to higher time frames and with the HODLFIRE, but it isn't entirely necessary for any of you who haven't done our course. However, it does help a lot. But the strategies that we've given you guys here that haven't done the course, for those of you who haven't done the course, can work really well, making sure candles are above the 200 moving average and a couple of other things. But Guak, if you can ask that question in the lodge, and we'll be able to assist you a little bit more there. Again, something that we've spoken about on the call before when he mentioned, I think last week as well, last call, is that front and the back of the mountain. That makes a big difference. Now, again, I'm not
Very
going to give
good.
too much away around that. We'll teach that all
Yeah.
in our course, but that does help a lot. I wouldn't be trading any of these down here. But
Right.
like I mentioned, you can see everybody knows we're waiting for all of these coins for the 4 hour for these candles to get back on top of this 200 moving average. Okay. Guac asked that question in the lodge, and we'll take that a little bit further. Perhaps we actually are probably due another ask session where we'll talk more about the HODLFIRE and the HODLNator that worked together. Okay. Cool, cool, cool. All right, lovely. Anything else from
Yeah.
your side, Vicky, Wendy?
No, I think that's good. We just all really need to remember the market conditions right now are getting ready to go up. Okay, so a lot of the coins have been going down. So a lot of the coins that you will find are under that 200. So we do like to wait, depending on the time frame that you are trading on, for those candles to be close to, as John showed you, close to or getting ready to cross over that 200 because that's when your bigger moves in the coins are going to be. So it is good for you to do some assessment, to look at it and to see how far down you are from that 200. John showed you really easily how to be able to figure out using that little ruler. We do go over that in the course as well, but how to use that and determine, is it really going to be worth your time, or should you just wait a little bit on that particular coin till it crosses over? So we want you to be successful with it. But again, a lot of these coins are longer term hold coins. Using them on a 1 hour, 2 hour, or 4 hour definitely do take a little bit of time to play out, but hopefully you will find it to be very beneficial. I know that a lot of our scalpers, we love those neon candles. So the strength of those neon candles, whether you're shorting with the yellow ones or whether you like those dark green ones, I hear Marius tell me all the time, I just love those neon glowing green candles. He knows when there's really good strength in the candle. So hopefully you'll find some good use out of it. Bring any further questions you have to the next one. Do we know when the next HODLFIRE call is going to be?
Vicky?
After the first of the year?
Yes, let me just find that information out. We just actually had to talk about that. It will be, let me
Good.
look. It'll
If we know ahead
be
of time. It'll be
eight,
on the
the
calendar.
8th, the 8th of January. So the 8th of
8th
January is
of
the next
January.
HODLFIRE call. I think John mentioned that at the beginning of the call as
Beautiful.
well.
He did.
Yeah. Mm.
Okay, good. Well, we hope everybody had a beautiful, wonderful Christmas and a wonderful, bright 2025 ahead for us in crypto. Good to see everybody on the call. And thank you, John. Thank you, Vicky. Been great. And we'll get the recording up and we'll post it in the chat session so you can go back over those questions.
So just one last tip for everybody is
Yeah.
have a look at your watch list, whether it be your Mexi watch list, your Binance watch list. There are a couple of coins that are starting to really start to move up on the day. But what we're ideally waiting for, and like Wendy's mentioned as well, market has been coming down for a couple of days and going sideways. As soon as we start to see those candles move up and stay above that 4 hour 200, we're going to start to see some really nice runs on the 1 hour, the 2 hour, the 4 hour, and even the day. Okay, so if you guys are looking to add your positions on Theta and a couple of these other long-term holds, uh, pivot bottom is in on the day. We're looking at obviously the buy tag needs to be in as well for that confirmation. So waiting for the pivot bottom for a couple of them. Sorry, apologies, stated pivot bottom isn't in yet, but a couple of others are. So keep an eye on these. So I've got my eye on Gala on the day. I've got my eye on AXS on the day. And we've got a pivot bottom and a buy tag there as well. I've got my eye on also on T-Fuel. It's starting to look a little bit better. I've got my eye definitely on Jasmy. Solana is all just long term. Solana also pivot bottom and a buy tag on the day. And I think let's have a look at Phantom as well. Yes, also looking pretty good, starting to shape up. All of these coins are starting to turn around. Have a look at Marius's reports on those coins. See if you're looking to add to your bags with ETC, Filecoin, Link, all of those, and go and use the HODLFIRE on the day. Pivot bottom buy tag and consider there. From the 1 hour or the 2 hour or the 4 hour, you've got multiple options that you can farm. Just wait for those candles to be above at least that 4 hour 200 for some really strong upwards moves. But until next time, Happy New Year, everybody. We'll see you in the new year.
Yes, we will. Thank you.